In August of 2017 was when I put my 2 weeks in at my 9-to-5 job. My last day of work was the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight. I don't know if you remember that, the boxing fight match.
Yeah.
I lived in Vegas, born and raised, so like at working on the strip, It was in Vegas, so it was going to be busy, and it was commission job. So I said, I want to work. So before I put in my 2 weeks, I scheduled a month before to get that data open so that I could, my last day was the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight. 2 weeks before that, put in my 2 weeks, and that was a huge moment for me, was going in, and my managers and people kind of knew I had a YouTube channel because they could, like, it was kind of getting around that I did because I was starting to grow. I had like 50, 60, 70,000 subs, you know? I remember thinking they're going to be like happy for me, you know what I mean? Or like they're going to care at all, you know? But I remember going in, I'm like, just want, you know, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. Here's why, you know, and one person was, but everyone else was just like, you know, you're not, it was almost like
you're dead to me.
You're dead to me kind of energy. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm done with this energy, you know, but anyways, so what I did is my last day was the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. I opened that day. I think I sold $6,000 worth of shoes. So I made like $300 or something like that. Or actually that was a smaller commission than Nordstrom's, but it was something, you know, I made good money and then went to my friend's house afterwards, watched the fight. And that was my last day ever having a 9-to-5 job. But that kind of like process for me was fueled a little bit by the pain of not liking the situation I was at.
Yeah.
And also being able to see if I don't start, if I stay where I'm at and I don't start, my future's looking at me like right in front of me. The people I worked with that sold women's shoes, they're awesome people, but most of them didn't want to be there. They were 50, 40, 30. You know, I was like 28 years old or 27, 28 years old when I went full time. So everyone I worked with was in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. Only one person loved selling women's shoes. And guess who that was?
Al Bundy.
Yes. The top salesperson.
Because he enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
She enjoyed it. She loved it. She was super passionate about it. Whereas everyone else was just there because they felt trapped. Like they had to. Yeah. That's all they knew how to do.
Oh, so good.
So it's like, I was looking around and I'm like, if I don't start, this is what happens. And you know, you want to know partially what it was too? Now that I think about it, there's a book that Gary Vaynerchuk wrote called Crush It.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about like, it was just the hustle mentality that I needed to hear because I was like, for years, this spiritual guy that was like studying spirituality and stuff and meditation. And it was like this think better thought philosophy that I was trying out, like think about it, but nothing was happening. And then what I needed to hear though was to crush it, to take massive action. And then in 2017, I started taking massive action. And that's when so it's massive action mixed with alignment of like a purpose and having the vision.
Yeah.
But massive action was what I needed to hear because I was the guy that was kind of like meditating and hoping. And I was visualizing all these like things. I was like, I'm going to meet Tony Robbins one day or this person. We're selling women's shoes, you know? And it's funny because I ended up eventually helping Sage Robbins, his wife. And I ended up helping Jack Canfield, who's also a motivational speaker. It was super cheesy. I remember telling him, one day I'm going to do what you do. And I looked back and I was like, I can't believe I said that. But funny enough, like years later, I get invited to a mastermind in Costa Rica that he was doing, that he was a part of. And I remember thinking to myself, man, things have come full circle because I was like, I'm that cheesy guy that's like, one day I'm going to do what you do. And he gave me his card and was like, he teaches like people how to speak or something. He gave me his card and said it was like $20,000 to go to Scottsdale to do this. I was like, I don't have $20,000. I'm not going to do that. You know, I ended up not doing it. But I remember that experience and just like how I really thought like someone was going to put me on or it was like this fairy tale idea, not realizing that it's all about who you become in the process. So because of that, though, I had to let go of a lot of the visions, the ideas. You know, there's people that want to manifest the lottery and all these things, and it's like so far off from like what we're actually, I think, meant to be doing and the person that we become in the process of starting. But starting is really the thing that opens up a new timeline. Starting is the thing that puts you into a new energy. And the thing that stops that starting is the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, the fear, basically everything that feels familiar to childhood. You know, everything that feels safe, what we consider safe.
But it's not 100% childhood. There is an amalgamation of like current life experiences that also stack on to the imprinting that creates the beliefs about who we actually are.
Absolutely.
So I can flash back and be like, okay, for me, money was pain. Money meant suffering. My dad loved money. He was disassociated from his family. My mom was manic bipolar. She always used to say that rich people are evil, rich people are bad. So for me, I had this massive money story that I got to get over in order to be doing what we're doing now. If I would have continued to believe that story about what money was, or really my worthiness when it came to money, you and I would not be sitting here. There was some kind of like and I'm curious how you feel about this. There was some kind of deep, heart-centered soul choice point inside of me, that it wasn't just my away from the pain, it was also towards the pleasure that I knew was possible. They were both like kind of at play. And for you, when you were like, okay, I will not be shamed anymore, I will not be recorded and shamed in front of a bunch of managers, there was also probably an equal or maybe even greater than part of you that knew that there was this life of abundance as well.
100%.
Which one was the fuel source? Were they both the fuel source?
I'm someone that generally likes to just focus on the good of like the motivation towards whatever I want. At the same time, I was just aware that painful experience was like kind of what woke me up to then focus on how good things could be. So for me, and I've said this in different ways, and I always stand by this, but the biggest shift in my life that ever happened, and the biggest shift I think happens in anyone's life for the most part, seems to be a common trend, is when you start doing what you love and you buy your time back. That is even more rewarding than if you go from making like $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year to $1 million a year. Like the biggest shift is when you buy your time back. That's what it was for me. So for me, when I was working 8 hours a day, sitting around where it wasn't that busy, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Especially when I started making videos, because like I could be making more videos. The vision I had was being able to eat lunch when I want to eat lunch, not being told you have only an hour to eat lunch. That for me was like, ooh, that felt like freedom. Being able to travel and go where I want to go when I want to go there, not having to get 2 weeks of vacation a year. That felt like freedom. To be able to share my ideas on YouTube and to be able to like eventually knowing that I want to do live events and I want to like interact with people in a different way, to like impact people in that way. There was definitely visions of that, like when in 2017, when I had the vision of it, one thing I did living in my dad's house, I remember my sister saw it and she made fun of me for it, was I got on Photoshop, a YouTube channel of somebody that had like 200,000 subs. And I edited their photo and my photo and put my photo over it and put that as the desktop of my computer. So every day I look at it, be like visualizing 200,000 on YouTube or something like that. Actually, I think it was like 134,000 or something like that. That's what the number was. Something like that, some odd number. And it was just my photo over that on my wallpaper. One time my sister came into my room and she's like, she thought it was real. She's like, just sitting on the desktop, you know what I mean? But she's like, she was like super surprised. And I was like, no, it's just this thing that I'm doing to visualize it. You know what I mean? But like visualizing that goal was definitely something that like brought me a certain level of fulfillment, a certain level of drive. But for me, it's always been freedom. Freedom from whether it's a job or freedom from limitations or freedom from imposter syndrome or whatever. But the freedom from that is also representative of doing what I want when I want to do it, with no one else telling me what to do, me getting to be my own authority. I love that. I could never go back to anything else once I've had a taste of that. But that's how I choose to live my life. That's how I love living.
Check out some of the videos on this screen that are perfectly curated based on the video you just saw. Make sure you follow me, and I'll see you in the next video.